Jai Tulsi Maharani ki jai. We offer our most respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who just like desire trees, who can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned soul. Vanchakalpa Tarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Vyebhacha Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. All right. So today is a special day on Vaishnava. It is Disappearance Day of Srila Jayadev Goswami, who is considered to be actually the incarnation of music. Music. The incarnation of music and poetry. And we're going to talk a little bit about him. We may get to the Bhagavatam, but first we're going to chant the prayers to the departed Vaishnavas. All right. Alrighty. Hare Krishna. Gauranga. Okay, need more room here. Whoops, keeps slipping. Oh, gotta get this right. Okay. Jai Anila Prema Janna Korana Prachur Jai Anila Prema Janna Koruna Prachur Hey no Prabhu Kota Kela Acharya Thakur Hey no Prabhu Kota Kela Acharya Thakur Kahamora Saruprupa Kasanatan Kahamora Sarupa Rupa Kasanatan Kahatasa Raghunatha Patita Pavakan Nagadasa Raghunatha Patita Pavakan Kahamora Patajuka Kalakaviras Kahamora Patajuka Kalakaviras Ekakale Kotagela Koran Nataras Ekakale Kotagela Goranataras Ashane Kutibo Mata Anale Pasibo Ashane Kutibo Mata Anale Pasibo Goranga Gun Neranete Kotak Gele Papo Goranga Gune Ranede Kotakele Papo Se Sabah Sangira Sange Jekoilo Bilas Se Sabah Sangira Sange Jekoilo Bilas Se Sangana Payakande Narotamudas Se sangana poya kunde narotomotas. Jayanila Prematana Corona Pracho Jayacharya Thakur Jayacharya Thakur Jayacharya Thakur Jayacharya Thakur Jaya Jaya Thakur Jaya Jaya Thakur Jaya Thakur Jaya Jaya Thakur Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravikacharya Ulstateta Satashi Shima Grace Abhaya Chananada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Sayam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Tiradam Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Sakala Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Pramananda All glories to the Son. All glories to the Son. All glories to the Son. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Krishna Krishna Bhutale. Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namade. Namaste Saraswati Deve. Gauravani Pacharani Nivashesha Shunyavadi. Paschacha Deja Tarane. Okay, so let's read the translation. He who brought the treasure of divine love and who was filled with compassion and mercy, where is such a personality as Srinivasacharya gone? Where are my Swarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishna's Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against the rock and enter into the fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all these devotees, and whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottama Das simply weeps. So, as I mentioned, today is the commemoration of the disappearance day of Jayadev Goswami, who is a great acharya, and I'm going to speak a little bit about him by Srila Prabhupada's mercy. So, Om Gana Timidandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmiditam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha. So, before we speak about his biography, history, I want to mention one reason why he's very important. Of course, he's the author of the Gita Govinda, which we're going to describe in a few minutes. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu
would regularly hear the Gita Govinda and read the Gita Govinda as one of his favorite literatures. And every day in the Krishna conscious movement, we are chanting part of the introduction, actually, of the Gita Govinda. What's the introduction of the Gita Govinda? Does anyone know? The Dasha Avatar shlokas. That is Narahari Rupa. Of course, we don't chant the other ones generally every day, but Shukara Rupa, Haladara Rupa, Kurma Sharira, etc. And at the end of each one of these descriptions of the avatars of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you have the statement Keshava Nara Hari Rupa, which is really interesting. That Krishna, you have taken the form. Of course, he hasn't taken a body like we take. We were talking about this last night in class. That in this material world, there's duality. There's a difference between us and the body. And there's a difference between us and the mind. And there's a difference between us and the brain. So, but with Krishna, there's no duality like that. Krishna, his body are the same. Krishna, his mind is the same. Krishna, his desire is the same. Krishna's psychology is the same, isn't it? It's all the same. There's no duality in that regard. So Krishna isn't embodied. That's actually, we're reading this Upanishad. It says God is not embodied. In other words, he doesn't take a body. He is his body. And in the spiritual world, we also are our bodies, and there's no duality in the spiritual world. So, anyway, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, okay, talking about the Dasha avatars. So, these descriptions of Krishna's various uh, avatars, actually, avatar is a really appropriate word, more than the word incarnation, because technically, his incarnation means to take a carnate, body. So really, the word incarnation, technically, although we use it, is not so correct, right? Incarnation, carnate. Anyway, we'll tell you what carnate means. I know. I know that. I know that. Oh my God! Just like in Mexico, a butcher is called a carnicero. I don't know. In Spain, it's the same thing. So, let's use the word avatara. Avatara means to descend, and when Krishna descends, he descends in his same body. Jopi sanavyatma bhutanam ishwaropi sham prakatim shwamadishtaya sambhavami apamaya. But because there is no duality between him and his body, when he's in a certain mood, he looks differently. His mood, just like an expert actor can do that to a certain extent in this world, right? Especially someone who's a good mime. I don't know if you know what a mime is, but anyway. So he can manifest his body so it looks a little bit differently. But Krishna, and the mime doesn't change his body. What was his name? Marcelo Marceau, something like that. Expert mime. He doesn't change his body. He just looks different. And so Krishna can do the same thing. So sometimes he looks like half man, half lion. Sometimes he looks like a boar. Sometimes he looks like Balaram. Sometimes he looks like a fish. Sometimes he looks like a tortoise. So Jayadev Goswami establishes this nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead at the beginning of the Gita Govinda before he gets into the very intimate descriptions of Krishna's pastimes. And this Gita Govinda is actually meant for very, 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 very advanced devotees. Those who are actually, on a higher level of devotional service. So Lord Chaitanya would read this along with his most intimate associates like Sarup Damodar Goswami, Ramananda Roy, Sika Mahiti's sister. So, this is the background. And that's one reason why we're spending so much time on talking about Jaidev Goswami, because he's the author of this Gita Govinda. So uh, he appeared during the 1100s, which is the 12th century. And his father's name is mentioned. His father's name is Bojadev, mother Vana Devi. And he appeared in Bengal in a district called the Kendu Bilvagram district. And he was a Sanskrit scholar from a very, very early age. So, at a very early age, not extremely early age, he went to Jagannath Puri. And in Jagannath Puri, he met his wife. His wife's name was Padmavati, and she was a great devotee of Lord Jagannath. In fact, uh, Jaidev Goswami is very much connected with Lord Jagannath because he basically fell in love with Lord Jagannath. He became a devotee of Lord Jagannath. And because he fell in love with Lord Jagannath, he composed this Gita Govinda. It was Jagannath's um, inspiration. So eventually he resided at Navadweep, in Navadweep, on the bank of the Ganges. Mm. And he composed this Gita Govinda, which, as I mentioned before, describes the intimate pastimes of Radha and Krishna through drama, through two aspects, union and separation, which are divided into other categories. Uh, and this is it's written in verse form, it's a poem. And there's an interesting story about this that we often tell that once upon a time, Jayadev Goswami was composing this Gita Govinda. And as he was composing the Gita Govinda, a verse came to his mind. And in that verse, it was said that Krishna bows down to the feet of Srimati Radharani. And of course, he was feeling, what? Krishna's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How could he bow down to the feet of Srimati Radharani? Of course, we know, if you've been in Vrindavan, uh, that Radharani, in so many stories, that Radharani exhibits her man, isn't it? That Manasarovara, where Krishna actually bows. And there's interesting pictures there of Krishna bowing down. Anyone's been there? Yeah. Krishna bowing down to Radharani and begging for forgiveness and crying. So you may say, why is the Supreme Personality of Godhead crying and begging forgiveness when he's the Supreme Controller? Ishwara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha and Adir Govinda Sarvakaranam. How is that possible? Well, he enjoys that. As we spoke about the other day, he enjoys emotions, even the emotion of crying and begging and feeling guilty. Just like all of us, we don't like feeling guilty. When I was young, my mother used this on me to make me feel guilty, to get me to do things. But Krishna enjoys that. He feels like, oh, I offended Radharani. I'm guilty. And so he enjoys incredible exchanges and manifestations and permutations of the different rasas. That's the nature of the Supreme Personality of God. Therefore, he's known as Rasa Raj. It means the king of all rasas. Rasa means like taste of relationships. So any conceivable relationships or moods Krishna experiences. That's why we have different moods, experiences, and relationships, because we're chips off the old block. Mama Vangsa Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. We're parts and parcels of Krishna. So Krishna must have much more than us. Whatever we have is a tiny sample of what Krishna must be experiencing, and he enjoys it. And of course, the mundane ras, or rasas, are not so enjoyable ultimately. So anyway, so he composed this verse, and he was thinking, being inspired by Krishna within his heart, and he was thinking, it can't be. So he thought, I need to take a bath. So he went to the river to take a bath, and he was thinking, after that I'll take prasadam. In the meantime, guess what happens? I think most of you know the story. Krishna himself came, but Krishna disguised himself as Jayadev Goswami. Actually, another point is, why is he called Goswami in spite of being married? It's interesting. Prabhupada said the title Goswami is uh, utilized in reference to people who have taken the renounced order of life. In fact, Prabhupada generally gave the title Goswami to those who were married before and then became Goswami, and those who were not married, he gave the title what? Swami. It's interesting. So the reason he's called Goswami is that he was married, but he was controlling the senses. In the same way, because that's what the word Goswami means. Go Swami. It doesn't mean a Swami who travels. It means a Swami. You know, sometimes people say that, go Swami. Leave the temple. So it means, go means senses, and Swami means control. Just like Krishna is called, a name of Krishna is Swami, which means the controller, the supreme controller. So he's called Goswami because he's married, but he's living very austerely and not engaged at all in any sort of material sense gratification. In the same way, Prabhupada would sometimes refer to the grahastas who are sense controlled as grahasta brahmacharis or brahmachari grahastas. So this is why he had the title. So anyway, so he goes to the river, takes his bath. In the meantime, Krishna takes his form, and Krishna comes, and he completes that verse. And so then Jayadev Goswami comes back after Krishna leaves, and also Krishna takes prasadam, or in that case, I guess he ate prasadam because it was offered. Normally, Krishna eats boga. Yeah. So Krishna, but generally Krishna, it's not that Krishna says offer something and then give to me. Usually you offer to Krishna. So, so after Krishna left in the guise of Jayadev Goswami comes back. He says to his wife, "It's time for prasadam, Priya." And she says, "You just ate." And he said, "What do you mean? I just ate." She said, "You sat down and you ate prasadam." And he says, "What do you mean?" And she says, "Also, after that, you sat at your desk and you wrote something." He says, "Something's happening here." And so he goes and looks at his desk, and on his desk, there's the completed verse, or on the paper, the palm leaf on his desk, is the completed verse that Krishna bows down and touches Radharani's feet. Amazing, isn't it? So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains in his Navadvipta Mahatmya that in the heart of Jayadev Goswami, the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was awakened by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Of course, this is before Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is centuries before Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. Another book he composed, a very famous book, is called Chandra Loka. And his deities are Radha Madhava. And these deities of Radha Madhava are now worshipped in Jaipur. As I said, he's considered the incarnation of music and melody. And let's see, what else? Oh, yeah, here's an interesting story that occurred in Jagannath Puri. The king of Puri was named Gajapati. That means the master of elephants. Interesting. That's a general name, a generic name for the king of Puri. And he was very envious of Jayadev Goswami. So he thought, I can compose a better book than the Gita Govinda. So his book was called the Abhinava Gita Govinda. And even the king's own Brahmins and assistants, they ridiculed the king. Somehow they got away with it. They compared his Gita Govinda to the Gita Govinda of Jayadev Goswami, they said, your Gita Govinda is just like a little candle compared to the sun of Jayadev Goswami's Gita Govinda. And the king was very determined. He said there's going to be a controversy between both of our Gita Govindas, so we'll let Lord Jagannath decide the controversy. So what they did is they placed both manuscripts before Lord Jagannath at night while they when they put the deities to rest. In the morning, when they opened the curtains or woke up the deities, they found Jayadev Goswami's Gita Govinda clasped to the deity's chest. And the king's Gita Govinda was just like ripped up and all over the place. So Jayadev Goswami's fame at that point spread all over India. That was actually Krishna's plan. Krishna utilized this envious king to glorify Jayadev Goswami. You see sometimes that uh, even when the demons criticize Krishna, the goddess of fortune, a goddess of learning, uses that criticism to glorify Krishna. So in the same way, the criticism that the king was trying to make against Jayadev Goswami's Gita Govinda became one of the causes of the Gita Govinda becoming famous all over India. And eventually, the Gita Govinda was sung in every major temple and court. Uh, by the 15th century, and the Gita Govinda was translated and illustrated in every traditional style in India, in Gujarat, in Hindi, Rajasthani, Punjabi. And there's a beautiful edition, the 1590 edition, on display at the Bombay Museum. Uh, and even Akbar, who was a Mughal Muslim, but was an admirer of the Gita Govinda, and he commissioned an illustrated manuscript in which you have, in the Mughal style, Radharani dressed in Mughal dress, which is actually quite interesting. Uh, Later on in life, Jayadev Goswami was the pundit for the king Lakshma Sena. Uh, the words from the Gita Govinda are inscribed on the Jai Vijay gateway in the Jagannath Puri temple. Every night, as I described before, Lord Chaitanya is listen to the Gita Govinda. Srila Prabhupada himself said that Jayadev is counted as one of the Mahajanas. Of course, generally we hear about the 12 Dwadasa Mahajanas, and generally Jayadev is not listed in that list, but Srila Prabhupada said Jayadev Goswami is one of the Mahajanas. Prabhupada also said the works of Jayadev should be read only by liberated souls. So, a word to the wise is sufficient. So, that's the information we have about Jayadev Goswami. Let's see. I don't have any other information here. Okay. So now do we have time to go to Bhagavatam? What? 2 minutes past 7. So, yeah. I know that. But that's what Prabhupada said. It's not what I said about it. Prabhupada said, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only read the Gita Govinda with his most intimate associates. I know, but Lord Jagannath's transcendental. He's right. Yeah. So the problem is if it's read by people who are not on a high level of devotional service, they'll take things cheaply. So if they're able to read it under the guidance of an advanced devotee, just like Prabhupada gave us the Krishna book, right? So when we read the Krishna book, and we also, in the ISKCON translation, of the 10th canto, we have the Acharya's commentaries that have been compiled by Srila Prabhupada's assistants and by Srila Prabhupada, the first portion of the 10th canto. Then we're protected from an improper understanding. So the proper way, yes, the proper way for someone who's not liberated, like many of us, uh, to hear the Gita Govinda is to actually hear it uh, being described and purported and commented on by a great devotee. So in that way, yes. What was the book that was it Gita Govinda that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was forbidden to translate? Which book was it? Govinda Lilamrita, which is very intimate also. I know. So you have that whole story where Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted to publish the Govinda Lilamrita, which is a book by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. And he went to his father, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and asked Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, can I publish this book? Just print it, because at that time there were printing presses. And Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur said no. And so he went back. There's some story that he went back several times. And eventually, because he kept insisting, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur said, yes, you can publish it, but you can only publish one copy. And the only one who can read it is you. So, you have that story. So, I don't know. I mean, yes. I mean, sometimes things are published and distributed widely that should not be published and distributed widely. And, but in any case, I believe that if we have the guidance of a pure devotee or someone who's very advanced in devotional service, then we could hear the Gita Govinda. But it has to be explained, just like Krishna book. I mean, if I were to pick up, before I came to the Krishna conscious movement, to pick up the 10th canto, a translation of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, I don't know how I would have taken it. Perhaps I would have taken it that it justified lusty affairs in this world. Here's Krishna, he's God, and in the Bhagavad Gita he says what? Yad yad acharati shreshtas tat tat vetaro janaha. For those of you who don't know what that means as the great souls act, everyone should follow. So I take that verse and I combine it with my reading of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and wow, all hell breaks loose, right? So anyway, one has to have the guidance of a pure devotee and understand. Prabhupada basically wanted us to concentrate and learn, first of all, the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that's Prabhupada's nectar devotion, the Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, and actually even those books in a particular order. Ishopanishad, which we're going over in the evening class right now. And there's a lot. I mean, I'm reading the Ishopanishad, and I'm learning a lot just by reading the Ishopanishad in the evening class and explaining it. It's nectar. There's so many things I missed in my previous readings of the Ishopanishad that I'm learning right now. So what should we do? Take more questions? 7 minutes, and up. Yeah, more questions. Yes. Mm, that's a nice. That's a nice story. Hmm. Ordered him. Yeah, because Padmavati was Lord Jagannath's great devotee. So, any other questions? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Mm, yeah. Right. But other than after that, no. My feeling is that if one wants to hear the topics that are in these books, one should do this in the assembly of advanced devotees, not sit down in one's own house, unless one is actually very advanced. Like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he heard it with his associates. You know, I don't have any recollection of Lord Chaitanya just reading by himself. It was with others that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was hearing these particular pastimes. Jaiva Goswami and and other rasa literatures. So that's my understanding. It's quite dangerous, especially well, not especially, but for a conditioned soul. Like Prabhupada said when he was asked even about portions of the Chaitanya Charitamrita that deal with very intimate pastimes between Radha and Krishna, and not he wasn't just asked about them. he had excuse me, some devotees were arguing with him that it's in your books. We're just reading your books. So what's wrong with reading your books about these intimate pastimes? And Prabhupada said his books are like a pharmacopoeia or a drugstore, in that there's different medicines available in the drugstore, but you have to be able to understand which medicine to take, being guided by an expert pharmacist. So we have to be guided insofar as which literature is appropriate for us. And therefore, we need the association of devotees. Again and again, Prabhupada stressed the importance of always remaining in the association of devotees and how the association of devotees protects us. Prabhupada gave the example, of course, of the sticks, the bundle of sticks. If you have a bundle of sticks, we used to have this game called pickup sticks. Ever hear about that before? And it was a bundle, and if you tried to break it, you couldn't break it. And when I had one stick, I usually break the sticks anyway. I was a very precocious kid. So anyway, so if you have one stick, it's easy to break. So in the same way, if we leave the association of devotees and we try to do things outside of the association of devotees, then there's a tendency to deviate. And even I experience, even I experience that when I'm reading by myself, it's not as much realization as when I'm teaching a particular literature. I could read the Upanishad right now, and I don't get as much as when I give my class in the evening on the Upanishad. I learn a lot more. I unpack a lot more. So, satam pasangam mama virya samvado bhavanti vritkarna prasayana kata tajoshadadashu apavarga vartmani shraddha ratir bhakti anukramishati. Lord Kapila Dev describes this process in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. He says, Satang prasangam mama virya samvado, that the devotees should meet together, prasangam, mama virya samvado, to hear about Krishna's heroic, amazing activities. Bhavanti Rit Karna Rasayana Kata. In that way, what? The transcendental medicine, which is Krishna Kata, will go from the ear to the heart. Ritkana. Rasayana Kata. It's very tasty medicine, not just ordinary castor oil. Rasayana kata tajoshanad ashu apavarga vartmani. In this way, you will proceed on the path of liberation and go through the different stages one by one. Shraddha bhaktir anukrameshati. From Shraddha, Ado Shraddha Tata Sarvasanga, Ratir. And then you get a taste, and then after that, what? You get bhakti. Anukramishati. They follow one after the other. So this is our process. And I'm discovering this when, giving my class. I look very much forward to my class at night, even though a lot of the classes, especially with Krishna book, are just reading. And, of course, with this Upanishad, we're going much slower. We're explaining different things. I get a lot more with the devotees than just reading on my own. So, is that all right? That's really important. And what? Yes. Satatam kirti antamam yantantas cha drinavrata namashantash namam bhakja nichu yutupasate.
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Enam Kanvanda Maravindalayatam Bhavatatam Samasitam Buddhasundaram Nandar Pakom Vidamaniya Kishesha Shobha Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Andani Asla Priya Priti Manti Vasyanti Vidayanti Viranati Ananda Chimaya Sadhu Dara Vikrasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham
Govindam Maripurusham Namahom Vishnu Pajaya Krishna Prasthaya Putale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Samanichi Namine. Namaste, Saraswati Devi, Guramani Pacha, Devasesha, Sunyavade, Shachade, Satare. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nanda Shri Advaita Gadada Siva Sati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Guru Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Siva Sati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Rad, looking on a rod, looking on a rod. Jai Rad, looking on a rod, looking on a rod. Jai Rad, hey. Rate na rate na rate na rate na rate na rate na rate Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Ragat Hey Jai Om Vishnupada.
Chaitodharparambardaram Bhavavahadavagnidirvaparam Shreya Kairavya Chandrikaritaranam Vijayate Shri Krishna Chaiturnam Nam Namakari Shakti Tat Rapita Niyamita Smarane Nakala Etat Rashida Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishami Ajanina Nuraga Nadapi Sunichena Tarora Pisuishuna Amani Namana Dana Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Va Jagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Hoita Ki Twai Ainanda tanuja kinkaram patitamam vishame bhavam buddha kripayata vapada pankaja stita duli sajashim vachintaya nayanam galajusha daraya vadanam gadgadaradaya gira pulakarnishitam vapukada tava namagraham eva rishyati yugayatam namishena chakshusha pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashli Shiva Padaratam Panastumam Padarshanam Marmahata Karotuva Yatatava Vinatolam Pato Mat Prananatastu Manapara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, easy to approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than a straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? And when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Ki Jai.